Hello and welcome back to the College Cinephile. My name is Ethan and I'm joined today by Marcus for a spoiler-full discussion of M. Night Shyamalan's Glass. So right off the bat, you wanted to talk about the differences between the three main characters?
I would love to talk about the differences between the three main characters. I feel like this movie, it wasn't even out well between the three characters because these are three characters that have been built up between two different movies, and they're both very, very big in them. But I feel like they mostly focused on James McAvoy's the Horde character.
Certainly for the first half of the movie. In the second half, it kind of becomes more of Mr. Glass's movie,
yeah.
which I kind of expected it to be the whole way through,
Yeah.
judging by the fact that the movie's named
Glass. Yeah.
But I think really the only one that it gets completely shortchanged is Bruce Willis.
Oh, yeah.
As David Dunn, his character really doesn't have a lot to do in the movie.
I feel like, because that was one of my favorite parts about Unbreakable. I loved his dynamic and how he kind of took up the superhero icon whenever he found out he had these powers. But I feel like they kind of dumbed it down for Bruce Willis. Like, I feel like they just didn't do a lot with him like they should have.
Yeah, there's very little remaining of his character from the first movie in this movie, which I think is kind of because Bruce Willis as an actor has kind of given up in recent years, which is a shame. But that's kind of my one major complaint with it, is that they didn't give his character enough to do.
Yeah.
It's really kind of just the Sam Jackson and James McAvoy show.
Yeah.
Which is a fun show to watch.
Oh, no, it's a great show. My favorite, James McAvoy, he did such a great job in this movie. There's a scene in the movie where these lights are different flashing on, and he's supposed to change between the different personalities that he has in him. And the way he's able to become that character just on a dime, it's just so easy for him, and that's why I'm so excited for every bit of work he's going to do in the future.
Yes, no, I agree. It's a dream role for him. Right. It's like he just gets to give his entire acting reel basically. And spoiler, as we said, like the final scene where he's dying and he's going through the different characters' reactions to what's happening is really powerful in a way that I wasn't expecting. I don't think many people were expecting him to die or all three of them to die, like what ended up happening at the end of this movie, which a lot of people have not really appreciated the movie so much. And to me, that comes from whether or not you're on board with the ending, with M. Night Shyamalan kind of saying, you know what, I know what you expected. That wasn't the movie that I wanted to make. Yeah. This is the movie I wanted to make, and in my movie, all three of them die at the end. He
really threw out all these he threw out like a Chekhov's gun of the building that they were gonna unhost all these deals and they're gonna show their powers at, and they just they really played it up, but then it only got up to the parking lot, and that's it.
Right.
And the final scene itself wasn't really much of a I thought it was gonna be more. That's the thing about M. Night Shyamalan. He does his own thing, and he's so proud of it, and I'm proud of him for it. I just feel like, as for the people who don't like the movie, which I think we were talking about this before, I like this movie a lot. You say you do as well. I feel like those that don't like the movie don't really get what M. Night Shyamalan was doing. He wasn't doing it for the people.
Yeah, and that's always been M. Night's problem. I'm a major M. Night fan, and I really liked what he did with this movie because when Unbreakable came out, superhero movies still weren't that big a deal. It was still 20 years ago. And since then, we've had the upsurge of the Marvel movies and cinematic universes and all this. And I think that this is M. Night Shyamalan's answer to that is, okay, I'm going to hype up this movie that you thought you were going to see. You thought you were going to see an Avengers giant action set piece. And instead, I'm going to make a movie about how nothing really matters. I think part of his message at the end of the movie, and it's a really bleak one, is the world doesn't care about you even if you are special, and the world doesn't care if you live or die. And that's a lot to take in with what I think a lot of people are expecting just to be a goofy superhero movie, and I don't think it really was that.
It wasn't. It was really okay, when you saw Unbreakable, it was very sophisticated.
Very serious.
Yes, it was very, very serious for what it was. And M. Night, you could see all the movies that M. Night has done up to par. He takes his movies very, very seriously. And Unbreakable is just a really good definition, and so is Glass. Glass, he took these three characters very, very seriously.
I think it is. There, you can make a connection between Samuel L. Jackson's character, Mr. Glass, and M. Night Shyamalan himself, because M. Night, he cares so much about all these plans that he's working on. He writes out these very complicated, twisty stories, and then people see them, and a lot of times people don't like them. And I think that he himself, I think that M. Night Shyamalan's emotions are as breakable as Mr. Glass's bones. Because, I mean, for the past 10 years, he's been a punching bag. Everybody's, made all these jokes about him, and they've kind of said, oh, the old M. Night's gone. Whereas the whole time, like Mr. Glass under the anesthetic, he was planning a big twist the whole time, which I think was Split being a sequel to Unbreakable leading into this movie, Glass.
I like how the timeline is set up, too, because Unbreakable takes place legit like a couple weeks after Split takes place, and then that's when David Dunn's character is going after Kevin, which is the Horde, and that's like, I feel like this whole timeline, I like how he doesn't draw out all these big things to happen over large periods of time. He really is just like, this is the real world. Usually this takes place after a few weeks.
Right. And there are, like, a big chunk of this movie all takes place in the asylum with Sarah Paulson's character, and it's kind of just her giving a bunch of monologues to the camera about the nature of storytelling and superheroes and all these things. And I completely understand why people didn't find that entertaining. Oh, no. To me, I was watching it on the edge of my seat because I'm like, this is really interesting. Yeah. This is like a look into M. Night's own mind and the way he looks at his own work and the work that everybody else makes. But if you're not as invested in M. Night's career as I am, I completely understand why you would think, oh, I want to see this conclusion to the trilogy, and it's just a bunch of people in a room talking about stuff.
Yeah, like you said, it's not this giant cinematic universe where there's giant set pieces every 10 minutes. This is a very drawn-out reality where they're going to address this as is like a sickness, and that's what it was in the asylum. It was treated as a sickness, and that's how I feel like people. What a certain friend said to me is that the beginning was good, and then in the middle it was nothing. And then the very end is where everything kind of happened, and I don't think he kind of got what M. Night was trying to do. I
can see that.
Yeah, I think that like they were playing to the whole like, oh, there's going to be a giant set piece. No, it's really just a brutal reality of like this being a sickness and this being
In this world, you can die in a puddle.
Exactly, I mean, which I was. Let's talk about just the weakness of water and how it was a bit retconned from Unbreakable to Glass. Now, in the movie Unbreakable, it's supposed to be a motif that even though David Dunn is unbreakable, I don't know if you saw what I did there. He's supposed to be unbreakable, but he's still a human. Water can still drown him. Right. But in the movie, it's just like, oh, this is his kryptonite, this is his weakness. A little drop of water can just, make a
It signs all over again.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was just like, yeah, it was signs all over again. And I was just kind of upset with that. I don't like how it transferred from Unbreakable to Glass.
I think that the finale probably could have been fleshed out a little bit more. It was a little clunky. There were a lot of ideas thrown all at once. This secret society thing that just happens is a really interesting concept, but we don't have a lot of background knowledge about it. So I think this, even though people don't like this movie, a lot of people don't like this movie, I'm glad that it's the movie that M. Night made because it feels like he's his old self again. Yeah. Like, I liked The Visit, but that kind of movie is him sort of playing to the audience, being like, I know what you want a fun little horror movie. Yeah. Whereas this is old school M. Night where he's like, hey, I have this idea, I'm going to tell it in as crazy a way as possible. If you don't like it, that's fine.
Yeah. Tell you the truth, I really liked how he did this. Like when I saw The Visit, I was like, this doesn't seem like how he would tell this kind of story. Like the found footage aspect for me was a bit off for him.
Right.
Because he's very cinematic with what he does. He's very cinematic with how he films certain scenes. I feel like the found footage aspect was kind of like dumbing it down for him. So whenever Glass was announced, I was like, okay, finally, we're gonna go back to the way things were. And it was very good for what it was. It was very good for an M. Night film. And this is like this is the overarching like topic we're going to come back to. This is an M. Night film.
Yes, absolutely.
If you do not like it, you don't understand what M. Night was trying to do.
It's a Rosetta Stone for his entire career as a filmmaker.
Exactly. Let's move on to performances. Like, what did you think of everybody?
I think Samuel L. Jackson gives a knockout performance in this movie, even though in the first half, I guess he's literally knocked out.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't do much in the beginning, but that just sets up how great he is in the second half. It's so nice. Samuel L. Jackson's never bad, but sometimes you can feel a little bit of doing the same.
Yeah.
So it's always great whenever we see him doing something that plays to his strengths like this.
Oh, yeah. Samuel Jackson is great. I love him in almost every movie he comes out in. But like I said before, my favorite actor in here is James McAvoy. He is just, this is, like you said before, this is him putting all his acting on the table and him just doing it on the fly. And this shows how talented he is and how well into the acting performance he's willing to give. He's willing to give his 110% for every role he's in, even if it's like a split-second deal for one of the personalities. But I feel like one of the best scenes that he did was when he was as Kevin. Whenever, I can't remember the girl's name. That's why I think that it was, that's why I think she was very forgettable, the three side characters. But I feel like that scene overall was just like the best scene that James McAvoy could have done.
That scene is amazing.
Yeah. And Bruce Willis's character, I just feel like dumbed down a bit. Like I don't think that M. Night Shyamalan just tried to hold him back. I just feel like, I just feel like there was so much more that he could have done, right? Yeah. But overall, like, what did you think about the movie?
Overall, I think it's really, really interesting and a movie that I had a lot of fun watching, but I completely understand why certain people might not enjoy it as much as I did.
Oh, absolutely. And I feel like if this could be a definition on the old M. Night Shyamalan coming back, this is it. This is him being back to his prime. If you're looking at a movie like Unbreakable, you think it's great, you're going to love Glass. Thank you for coming back to us on the College Cinephile channel. If you like what we do, you're going to hit that subscribe button and check out our other videos. And go ahead and hit that bell so you can find out what we do next. That's it for this time. I'll see you later, Internet.